Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you were joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. It is a beautiful Saturday morning here in Savannah. Nice and foggy and kind of soggy from some rain we got yesterday. It had me thinking about the fact that anytime something tragic happens in public, this doesn't just apply to the world of sports, it applies almost to anything. There's always this period of harmony, this period of peace, this period of, I don't know if euphoria is the right word, but there's this time period where people are trying to be less awful, right? Because for the most part, our society is built on people who are trying to see what they can get from something. How can I benefit off this? How can I maximize? How can I build on? Many times it's not a bad thing. I mean, how do you ever get ahead if you don't build or maximize or stack on top of things? If you don't take advantage of situations, how do you ever grow? So I'm not necessarily upset at that. But there are some times where you have to understand that this isn't a good look. You got to understand that this is not going to come off the way that I want it to come off. I could have all the best intentions in the world. It's not going to read the way that I believe it should read. And so I'm going to refrain from doing it. There are so many things that I don't say. There's so many things that I don't say simply because I know that it's going to be read and or interpreted the wrong way. And because I know it's going to be read or interpreted the wrong way, I don't even bother doing it. I don't even bother wading into those waters. Like, why? Like, why play the game? Why go into those waters when I know that there are sharks simply waiting there to try to use what I said to build something of their own, right? So I don't say it. We've reached a point now where Damar Hamlin, where his story and his tragedy with him, falling out on the field and now fighting for his life, has been turned into an issue, has been turned into a way for people to build their own brands. How disgusting, right? How disgusting, how disappointing, how annoying, how ignorant, how selfish of people to take that situation and make it about them. Some of the awesome stuff, right? His toy drive, I believe, has had donations that have pushed it well into the millions of dollars. Like, that type of love and that type of outreach from a country full of people is something that doesn't go unnoticed. That's the love, that's the euphoria, that's the harmony that we have in times like this. But then you see other people try to use it for reasons that just don't sit right with me, right? I feel like there are people like Dan Orlovsky who I don't think is a bad person. I really don't. I don't think he's a bad person. But I think he says and does things to be as the Dan Levitard show would say, a look at me, Louie. Look at me, see what I'm doing. And so he goes out and he prays on national television on a sports show. He prays for Damar Hamlin. Now, it's not the problem that he prayed. It's not the problem that he prayed. It's that I don't necessarily believe that this is what he normally does, because there have been tragedies before. Damar Hamlin, his situation is bad. But when the young man at the University of Maryland, when he passed away, I didn't see Dan Orlovsky praying. Is this going to become a new thing when somebody gets hurt and or injured and we think it might be fatal or whatever? Is this something he's going to normally do on his social media, which I don't follow? Is he praying when tragedy happens? So is it that he really and truly cared, or was it an opportunity for him to say, look at me? Because you don't have to, if you know anything about prayer, the prayer doesn't have to be in public for the prayer to work, right? It makes me question. There's a gentleman over at Fox Sports. I've even just wanted to stop saying his name, who works with Shannon Sharpe, who said some choice words, right? Who had posted some words. Now, here's the thing. His original words, the original words that he said, I don't think they were bad. I think he worded them wrong. He got killed for it. So the next day on the show, when Shannon Sharpe doesn't show up because he's disgusted by the comments, this man goes on a seemingly 10-minute monologue. He's all by himself. He doesn't apologize once. And in fact, he barely even mentions Damar Hamlin and his situation. And he talks about I and me and us and we. Completely oblivious to the room. Like, hey, guy, I know you're old and you're white, so you feel entitled. But you got to read the room on these things. And the fact that he's been allowed to just operate and be an irritant and a disruptor and a contrarian, always talking poorly about good people. The fact that he came up off of saying that he covered Michael Jordan, even though he wasn't even the number one beat guy in the area. Although he made his name off of continually, unrelentingly going after Terrell Owens, even though Owens had never done anything to him and had always performed at top condition. Even though he made his name off of LeBron James and always having something negative to say about LeBron James, and LeBron never did anything, said anything to him. The one time he was challenged, legitimately challenged by Jalen Rose, who eviscerated him on national TV, he made sure that Jalen Rose never appeared on that show again while he was in charge. This is not a good human being. At least not publicly. And it doesn't seem like he's a good human being privately, Because when Shannon Sharp returned to try to give his account of how he felt and what he hoped that this gentleman would do, that dude interrupted him right in the middle of talking. So you don't even respect your co-host, the guy who has made you and your show one of the most successful shows in the sports landscape. You don't even respect him. This is the show going on. That gentleman used the tragedy for clicks. He used the tragedy for eyes. He used the tragedy to create outrage. Why? Because all press is good press. All press is good press. So it doesn't matter if they're talking good or they're talking bad about you, they're talking. And that's all that matters in the minds. It's all that matters in the minds of some of these people. It doesn't matter if they're talking, if they're saying good things or they're saying bad things about you, as long as they're saying something. That is a horrible way to be. That is a terrible way to be. And so now we see people who are want to take the opportunity to say, oh, well, you know, this doesn't mean that NFL players should get like health insurance. This isn't the time. What? They want to push back against the notion that players should be taken care of in a sport, in a league where they don't get guaranteed contracts. We can't make it make sense. And every time I try to make it make sense, I just get angry. I just get mad. So there's no reason for me to continue to try to make it make sense. What I have landed on is when these people start doing things that go against just reading the room, I am not going to push their narratives out there by making comments about it on socials. I'm going to let it just live and hope it dies. You don't have to. Every time something negative happens, you don't have to be the person out in front posting about it, praying on your tweets, praying on national TV. Pray in private. Why did it take you 2-3 days to pray? The moment it happened, if you're a prayer person, you should have been praying right then. Why then double back with the prayer? God heard the first prayer. You don't think he heard the first prayer, or you had to make sure that the prayer was on national TV so that God could hear it? God doesn't have cable. He doesn't need cable. He doesn't need a TV. He sees all. It sees all. They see all. Wonder what the pronoun on God should be. You think God is a them, they? That's an interesting question. That's just my brain going somewhere else. I think in the end, what we come out of this is that now that this story is in the news and people are paying a lot of attention to the news, now that people are paying attention to the news, it means that the news is going to lean in to the coverage. So now the backlash, the swing, right, is going to go from people really caring and really being invested to people becoming annoyed by the coverage. So imagine becoming annoyed by hearing about whether or not a man is going to live after a tragic accident. But that's what's going to happen. You know that's coming. Sunday's going to get here. There's going to be another slate of football games. And people are going to go, I'm tired of hearing about. And that's our world. But never forget the positives and the kindnesses that you saw in those days, those first couple of days after the incident, those first couple of days after this happened. There was a lot of awesome stuff going on. Now you're going to start to see the ugly stuff, the stuff that doesn't feel real. The, hey, we've got to do something or we've got to say something because everybody else is. That's the awfulness of our society these days. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Talk Spicy. I do this thing a few times a week. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, you know what to do. Like, subscribe. Till next time. Peace.